New week on the Just Baseball Show. Walker Bueller going to join us in a matter of moments from sunny LA. What's the temp in New York right now?
Um, I think it's 30-ish degrees, 37 degrees currently in New York City, and my guess it's in the low to mid 60s in California right now.
Yeah, okay. It's -2 in Indianapolis right now. It was hitting my face and it hurt when I went out to go like get lunch and get something to cook for dinner because I'm like, I'm not leaving my house again after I do this. But we are going to talk to Walker from LA about getting ready to be a dad in season, also working out at Dodger Stadium for the last good bit. We're also going to wrap the show by playing GM for the Baltimore Orioles. It can be quick, it can be frustrating. I have no idea what's going to happen. But there's a crazy good offer from our naming sponsor that you need to hear about. And Peter's going to tell you about it right now.
Bet five, get $158 instantly in bonus bets. What I want you to do, go to BetMGM, download it, use code JustBaseball. And when you put down a $5 wager on standard odds minus 110, after the bet is settled, you will get $158 for Super Bowl 58. And if you're asking yourself, wait, what's the catch? $5 and you instantly get 158? There is no catch. They're doing it for the Super Bowl. That's why the king of sports books. Download the BetMGM Sports app on iOS or Android. Use code JustBaseball and don't leave free money on the table.
Do you know what happened since we last talked?
What do you mean?
Your Yankees added a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? Like, how riled up are you?
So at first I was confused, right? And I made a video about it, going back, and I've talked about this on the Just Baseball show before, so we don't have to get exactly into the quotes, but there was a rift between Marcus Stroman and Brian Cashman. And this was dating back a couple of years. What I didn't know is that Brian Cashman actually apologized to Marcus Stroman. So I guess the beef between them got a little bit overblown. But when I saw the contract and actually looked into the pitcher that Marcus Stroman is, he's still only 33 years old. To me, it felt like he was 35. He got a 2-year, $37 million deal. He sports a 53% ground ball rate, which is perfect in Yankee Stadium. He's also a big game pitcher. He should perform well with the Yankees, considering he's relatively used to the media in Queens. And then when I look at the other starting pitchers on the market, like a Lucas Giolito, who got 38 million, or Jordan Hicks getting $44 million from the San Francisco Giants to be a starter, overall, I'm really excited about the deal. Do I think it's Marcus Stroman the one? No. The two? Probably not. But can he be a solid three, a fantastic four? Absolutely. And when I look at the Yankees right now, they're really having a great offseason. They got Juan Soto and Marcus Stroman.
And Trent Grisham. They got one of the better fourth outfielders in baseball. And
Exactly.
Alex Verdugo. Don't forget
And
about
Alex
Verdugo.
Verdugo. I'm forgetting about all of them, but right now I'm focused right now on Marcus Stroman. I thought it
You
was a
should
good
be.
signing.
You should be. I like it because Stroman effectively hedges the volatility of Carlos Rodon. And, you could say, oh, well, like, how reliable is Stroman? The answer recently is very. He threw 102 innings in 2018. He had a 5.5 ERA. That's when he was 27 years old in Toronto. But he was traded midway through the season from Toronto to New York in 2019. Since 2019, these are his innings pitched and his ERA. 184 innings in 2019, he had a 3.2. In 2021, 179 innings, he had a 3.02. 2022, 138 innings, he had a 3.5. And then this past year, 135 innings, he had a 3.95. He hasn't been over four since 2018, and he's always going to give you innings. Obviously, he had that stress fracture in his rib cage this past year, but man, like after TJ, there hasn't been really anything arm related to worry about. I think you make a great point. And yeah, he only threw 11 games with the Mets, but this is a guy that A is from Long Island. If you haven't read the recount of Marcus Stroman and Steven Matz facing each other in a high school game on Long Island, it's hilarious because it was like 1-0 and they each punched out 17 in a high school game. It was nuts. And like a scout from pretty much every team was there. But he's a New York guy, and he so clearly based on the social media presence and just the aura that he brings feeds off energy, whether it's positive or negative. I don't have the splits in front of me, but I bet you he's a pretty solid road starter because he can feed off hate pretty well. He can play the villain pretty well. And at home, if he's going right, I think Yankee fans are really going to latch on.
Yeah, he was a Yankee fan growing up too. He said he's a Long Island kid. He posted those on his social media pages, pictures with I think it's his dad, and then he just seems really excited. And there's already stuff going around, Yankee Twitter and stuff that and it's a lot from other fan bases as well. Is he going to just screw up the locker room when he walks in the door?
No, no,
I
we
don't think
can't play
so.
that game.
We can't play that game and just assuming because it's a different team, it's a different circumstance. I think at this point in his career, as evident by the contract, right? He's not a super high paid guy. He got less than I think some other starters who I would argue are worse than him.
He got less than maybe he was expecting. He opted out of 1 year at what, 23 to go get two for 36, 37.
And here's my thoughts on this. I think he took less to be with the Yankees because the contract really didn't make sense. Truthfully, right? 2 years, 37 million for Marcus Stroman. I know there's vesting options in there and all this mumbo jumbo, but that's basically what the contract is. Lucas Giolito got more than him. Jordan Hicks got 4 years, $44 million. He got less. I think he took less to go to the Yankees. And I could be wrong, and maybe that was just the market for him, but it did seem suspiciously low.
In what world is Lucas Giolito making more money over a 2 year deal than Marcus Stroman?
It really doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I think
No
that. I could
sense.
be wrong, but
No
explain it to me
sense.
then.
Uh, I can't. Also, same guy at home and on the road. 364 at home in his career, 367 on the road in his career. So he can feed off energy, both positive and negative. He just needs energy.
Yeah.
Like empty ballpark, that shit ain't gonna fly. And at Yankee Stadium, like there's always some sort of energy, unless he throws on a Wednesday afternoon, and maybe just make sure he doesn't throw on Wednesday afternoons.
And it'd be good to give the Yankees a little bit of an edge. He's got an edge.
He
We need some of
does.
those personalities in the Yankees locker room. There's a lot of
Uh,
buttoned up guys.
And when Rodon is going right, Rodon has an edge too. And I am very excited to watch the tandem of Rodon and Stroman this year. Not because I think that they're going to be all-star caliber, but because Rodon can't be any worse and any more unavailable than he was last year. And like Stroman, these two, I feel like they can push each other closer and closer to being that co-2 behind Garrett Cole. And don't forget, you got Nestor.
You have Nestor too. And, I was texting my buddies from home after we got Marcus Stroman, and I was saying, I really like this rotation, right? I think Nestor will bounce back, whatever that means. I think he's going to put up like a low 4 ERA in 130-ish innings. I would say that's relatively bouncing back. And then I told them Carlos Rodon is going to bounce back. And they said, well, he could easily get worse. And I was like, can he
No, he
actually get
can't.
worse than
No,
a
he can't.
6.8 ERA in like 4 starts? I was like, if he's just not the worst pitcher on planet Earth, the Yankees rotation is better. And then you have Clark Schmidt, who at this point is just a solid pitcher. And then you have Garrett Cole and Stroman. That's a very good rotation. I would put them in the top 10.
I think so.
Not like
I got
top five. I'm saying in the 8 to
I
11 range.
I got to
Good
see what
rotation.
Rodon looks like, man. I mean, Rodon at a 6.85 and 14 starts last year. I want to pull up the opponents had an 838 OPS against him after a 571 OPS against him in 20
It,
in
it,
22.
it wasn't his best season.
No, certainly
No,
not.
no,
Hell,
it
I could
wasn't.
argue it was his worst. All
You could
right.
argue that.
All right, one more signing that we got to talk about before we hand it over to our conversation with Walker Buehler. Jordan Hicks to the Giants, 4 years and $44 million. Okay, they signed a setup guy. No, they signed a starting pitcher at $11 million a year. The Giants paid Hicks what the Cardinals paid Steven Matz to do a couple years ago. And Matz was not a reliever throwing 102 miles an hour. Matz was a starter with injury concerns that they paid 44 across 4 years. Now Jordan Hicks gets 11 mil a year over the next 4 years to do something that he's done 5 times in his major league career. I'll pull it up right now. I actually saw him make a start on a rehab assignment in AAA. He went 2 innings and it was like, Okay. He's started 8 games in his major league career. All 8 of those starts came in 2022. He threw 61 and a third innings in 2022. So he was not being stretched out. If Jordan Hicks makes 25 starts next year, how many innings does Jordan Hicks throw?
I don't know. And I thought it was a little bit confusing at first, but then I thought to myself, all right, 27 years old. He's got this sinker from hell running in at you at 102. He's got the breaking ball. So he's got 2 legit pitches. And if he's working on this four seam, which I was reading about, that's 3 pitches, and they're all nasty. For him, it's just, can you keep the ball in the zone, right? Because his stuff is just so unbelievable that if he's throwing balls, yeah, I mean, just don't swing at it. But if he's throwing strikes, he can get through, 4 or 5 innings. And when I look at the contract, it was more than I thought, but he can still be a dominant reliever if the starter thing doesn't work out. So that's why I thought it was a little bit of an overpay, because I felt it was a starter-esque contract when I don't know if it's going to last. But at the end of the day, the Giants got a nasty pitcher for 11 million per from his age 27 to age 31 season. That's fine.
They got a nasty pitcher in 1 inning spurts who's emptying the tank across 1 inning. That's what we know. In his 8 starts in 2022, he averaged 3 1/3 innings per start, and he had a 5.5 ERA in those 8 starts. He was not a good major league starter when he started those 8 games. Granted, he was almost a long man of sorts. I don't think he signs with the Giants unless they make this, assurance to him that he's going to be a starting pitcher for multiple years. Like, hey, I want to be a starting pitcher. They're going to sign him as a starting pitcher. I don't think you can give up on the whole starter thing if it's not working by the All-Star break this year. I think you have to give it a minimum year and a half, unfortunately. Having said that, I think he can figure it out when you do have 102. If 102 turns into 98 and you figure out just a sinker slider at 98 and 90 that can get you through 4 innings, that's worth $11 million a year.
Exactly. Like it's a longer contract, but the AAV is really not too bad. And I think I'm more optimistic about him becoming a starter than maybe I think you are. Right? He hasn't proven it yet, but another guy who really hadn't proven it, got paid as a starter and ended up pitching really well was Seth Lugo. Right? Because Seth Lugo only had 2 pitches, not nearly as nasty as
Right.
Jordan Hicks.
That's my thing. Like Lugo was spinning a crazy curveball and throwing 92, right? Like Hicks is a different beast. Hicks has closer stuff. And I just wonder, not almost never. And if I'm missing someone, comment in the YouTube comments who I'm missing. Closer to starter. Starter to closer is a real thing. I guess Smoltz went closer to starter. Is that right?
I think
Or
he
was it
went
the other way around?
starter to closer.
I think he went starter to closer. So like Aroldis Chapman was a starting pitching prospect when he came up. And I think Chapman and Hicks are the closest thing you can find. Chapman was a starter when he came up. He's been a closer his entire life. Wade Davis went from starter to closer. The starter to reliever pipeline is real. The reliever to starter pipeline is Seth Lugo, who throws very differently than Jordan Hicks. But I will say, if San Francisco leans into this weird quasi starter thing, they're doing something right. Who did we really like last year in San Francisco? You and I both. I loved him. I think you loved him too. Ryan Walker,
Mm.
swingman with a sub 3 pretty much the entire year. It was just fucking weird. And he was like 3 innings out of the bullpen this day when they're piecing it together, or maybe a 4 inning start this day on Sunday Night Baseball. If that's what Hicks is, I love it because you've got Hicks who's weird, Walker who's weird, Ray kind of embodies weird. Like there's enough going on. What do you get from Kyle Harrison? What do you get from Wiz and Hunt very soon? I think they can put the jigsaw puzzle together really well.
Yeah, I mean, if you get 7 innings total from Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks in a day, it's going to be nasty and it's going to be a bunch of different looks. And I'm optimistic that he can deliver on those 4 inning starts. The
Yeah.
guy is straight up nasty. It's all about the command. So if he's refining that this offseason and he is able to not run the pitch count up, And yeah, it might be not 102. It's still 99. It's still 99 breaking into a righty. Like whatever that is basically impossible to hit. That's why he posted a 3.29 ERA last year. And then when he went to the Blue Jays, it was a 2.6. He was even better. So overall, I am excited to see the experiment. And the reason I don't think that it's a bad deal is even if it doesn't work, you have a very good bullpen arm at 11 million per. Can I remind you that Rafael Montero, 3 years,
14
45?
and a half. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I think it's a great gamble. But I do want to clarify, when I first saw it come, I was like, a starter? He's not a starter. I've only seen him be good in the bullpen. But I'm intrigued. He's got the stuff. If he just goes sinker, slider, it's qualified as a sweeper. It's just a disgusting breaking
Yeah.
ball. And a four seamer, you got going all different angles, different speeds. This can work. I'm excited to see it.
I don't know if it can work for 7. I don't know if he'll ever get the opportunity to throw 7 innings, but I think it can work in a Ryan Walker type mold. And
Why
I think
not?
they saw that and said, let's do it.
Why
Why
not
not?
seven? Why not seven?
Uh, because it's really only Strider that can
Have an
get
open
through.
mind.
Okay, sorry. Yep, open mind. My bad. Also, John Smoltz was a starter. He got hurt. He missed all the 2000 season. He came back as a closer, and then he was a starter for like 5 more years to end his career. So he did. He went starter to closer to starter.